Welcome to the Lost in the Shuffle podcast, brought to you by your online source for tap dance education, itaponline.com. My name is Hillary Marie, and I've created this podcast for you to listen to during your commute to or from the dance studio in hopes that you'll walk away with some new knowledge or fresh inspiration. I get a lot of messages from studio owners and teachers who are looking for creative ways to get their students into tap class. So I wanted to make an episode that focuses on how to grow a tap program. Now, I completely understand that it's very discouraging when attendance or enrollment is low in a specific class, and a lot of studios are sadly scrapping their tap program for this reason. And it absolutely breaks my heart when I come across a studio that doesn't offer a tap class. Quite frankly, it boggles my mind, and after my mind is boggled and my heart is broken, I come to these studios and I ask them why don't you have a tap class? And they say it was just too hard to build, and I completely understand that. So I'm here to help. I'm here to offer some creative ways to get your students into tap class. So in this episode, I'll be sharing different ways to grow your tap program, and I'm going to separate this into building a children and teen program versus building an adult program because I think it's best to approach them differently. So let's get started with the kids. It's great if you can get them while they're young, and combo classes are a beautiful way to introduce kids to two styles of dance, and the most popular one I've seen in the studio atmosphere is the kindergarten ballet tap combo class. But at my studio, Grooves Unlimited Dance Studio, we are hyper-focused on vernacular dance styles, including hip-hop and tap. So we introduced a hip-hop tap combo class, and it's most popular for ages 5 to 7 category. And after a year or two of this class, we found that the families choose to separate the two styles and go from one weekly dance class to taking 2 weekly dance classes, both hip-hop and tap. But just because you didn't get them in their elementary years doesn't mean that you can't get them into a tap class when they're preteens or teenagers. So many years ago, I worked at a ballet school, and when I started there, I had 3 tap students, and after a few years, I had 50. And the way that I grew the program was, it was really old school. I did handwritten personal invitations to the students that were already enrolled at the studio. They were just taking ballet and nothing else. So I wrote individual notes to the dancers explaining how a tap class could benefit their ballet studies. And another thing that helped to make this work was that I started a beginner level tap class for preteens. That way they didn't feel awkward in a class with kids half their age. So these are great ideas for any dance studio, but if your studio has a pre-professional performance company and training program or a competition team, you can choose to make tap a mandatory class. If these dancers are required to take 2 ballet classes per week, why not require 1 tap class per week? But when you introduce this change in mandatory expectations to your dancers, I encourage you to explain all the benefits of this new required tap class and all the ways that it'll strengthen their training. And my final thought on expanding a children and teen program is to use the schedule to your benefit. Put a tap class back to back with your most popular classes, especially if you have multiple studios and can run simultaneous classes. So now we move on to the adults, and I have had the great joy of teaching tap dance to swing dancers, and this is an adult-based community. And what I've learned from this is that tap is a very scary word as an adult. It's something you did as a kid, or maybe you didn't do it and so you think you missed out. So when I started working with the Lindy Hop community, which is mostly adults, I stopped calling it tap. I called it swingin' soft shoe or rhythm remix because tap was this big scary word. Now doing this helped me get the dancers in the door, and sometimes that's honestly the hardest part. You know, when they got there after that first class, they were in love. They loved the rhythm, they loved the dance, they loved tap dance, but there was this scary word that was preventing them from walking in the door. But there was one other thing I did to make the class more accessible, and that was no requirement for tap shoes in the first class. I specifically advertised that beginners were welcome and no tap shoes were required. And this is great for children, teens, or adults. Do what you can to make that first class accessible. The buy-in rate for a first tap class is a bit intimidating because tap shoes can range from $40 to $80 for a cheap pair. So my final suggestion for growing your tap program is to get a great teacher who knows what they're doing. Don't have your ballet teacher learn tap on YouTube and try to build a tap program off of that knowledge. Love and passion for an art form are contagious, and if you can find a strong tap teacher who is knowledgeable and passionate about their art form, people will want to study with them, and after your program has taken off, you can work on building your local tap community with tap jams, guest artists, performances, and more, which I will detail in a future episode. Now, I would love for you to tell me about your tap program, what's working for you, what you might be struggling with, how you've successfully built up your tap program, or things you've tried that didn't work out for you. Please comment and share your thoughts, and I hope you'll join me for a future episode where I'll discuss how to build your local tap community after your tap program has taken off. If you haven't had a chance to yet, please visit itaponline.com for more tap dance content, including blogs, more podcast episodes, tap dance tutorials, and more. If you subscribe to the mailing list, you'll get updates and free gifts like my Rhythm Training for Tap Dancers video series. And if you become a member, you'll be joining a community of passionate tap dancers who have access to my exclusive online content. So head on over to itaponline.com to check it out, and I'll see you there. So as I close out, again, this is Hillary Marie from itaponline.com, your online source for tap dance education. I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of the Lost in the Shuffle podcast. I wish you all the best in your dance journey, and it is my great hope that we'll have the opportunity to share a shuffle together soon.